particular. Good morning, everyone. Suzanne Taylor King. We're here for the Idea Lab Growth Intentions call. And I had some insights about productivity and performance and all those good things when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And I wanted to share them with you and get this conversation started about not being mediocre, about really, not that mediocre is bad, it's average, right? It's the average American woman, is 5'4" and 165 pounds. Yeah, I don't want to be that. The average coach makes $40,000 a year. Yeah, I don't want to be that. The average entrepreneur struggles with sleep and health issues and all of those things. Yeah, I don't want to be that either. So I had some insights from one of my coaches. I took a class with Phil Stutz a couple of years ago. Phil Stutz is in his 90s. He is one of the kind of founders of psychologists and psychiatrists moving into coaching because he saw the value of coaching. So he got his start as a therapist and transitioned into coaching. And he wrote a book called The Tools. And the website for the book is thetoolsbook.com. And he gives all of his coaching tools away for free, which I just think is amazing. And they're all mindset tools to shift out of the mother wound, to shift out of codependency, to shift out of procrastination. And I love the fact that he's a high fee one-on-one coach to very big name people. But he gives all of his knowledge and his tools away for free to you, to coaches like me. And one of the most powerful things I got from the 90 minutes I spent with him was that most people live inside of their comfort zone. And why do they do that? Because duh, it's comfortable. It's easier. It's going outside of it feels anxious, nervous, self-doubt comes up, internal judgment comes up. And so what I wrote to share with you today, which is going to be a chapter in an upcoming book, expanding on this a little bit. So you do everything you can to stay in that comfort zone. You'll self-sabotage, you'll overeat or undersleep, you'll overwork just to stay small, to stay in that mediocre line. And that's great if you just want to be average. But if you're truly looking to do something meaningful with your life or your career, you're truly looking to help other people, serve other people, or be that best version of yourself and get to that infinite potential, you have to be willing, and this is what got me, you have to be willing to embrace anxiety, fear, self-doubt, and put all of that in a box that says, I feel you, but I'm willing to move past you. And the example that I gave in my post today on Facebook was palms sweaty, heart racing, feeling anxious. Yes, bring it on. That's how I know that I'm going out of my comfort zone for an event or speaking or a live or a post. Am I a little bit like, ooh, is that a little too bold to say? Are you tired of being mediocre? Maybe. Okay, I know I'm on the right track. So what are you willing to do? Are you willing to be a little anxious? Are you willing to be a little nervous? Are you willing to step out of your comfort zone That's where I want that conversation to go today. Oh, thank you, Tony, for sharing that, the tools book. Any insights? Ida, Casey, Tony?
I have done this over the past 6 months or so, where I wanted to shift our accounting firm from being mostly bookkeeping to more consulting and less bookkeeping, because for a few reasons. It takes less of my time and it takes less resources here in the office. And I enjoy that part of it more so than the actual bookkeeping. Then the bookkeeping is okay, but it's just number crunching and anybody can do that. I like the consulting part better. And so that's where I wanted to go. And I've wanted to do that for a couple of years. And so I kind of took a year or so to figure out what I wanted that to look like. And that was more, it probably wouldn't have taken that long, but I was kind of lazy about it. So I was in that comfort zone for a while with it. And then when I actually started it and started like spending money on it, it got a little uncomfortable. And it got really uncomfortable when, okay, it's not working and I'm still spending money, and it did get really uncomfortable. But I kind of eventually got comfortable with uncomfortable.
Well, you did it just based on practice, right? You practice the uncomfortable enough that it started to feel normal.
Yes.
Okay. And now what you're currently working on, do you see how the steps that you're taking now are different from back then?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I was hoping for that answer.
No, what are you talking about? No.
Well, because, when you want to make a change in your business that's different from what other people do, right? It's different from average. You're also moving into something that taps into your zone of genius. So you have to be a little bolder with that. You also have to be polarizing in what you do believe and what you don't believe, right? You have to take a stand, basically. And you're going to now have a monthly platform to showcase that to people, which is really cool.
I think it is.
I do too. Tony, any insights?
Well, I am, I've been talking about, this, like, how much longer am I going to allow the the comfort in my discomfort to be the thing that I settle for? And I struggle with that balance. Like, I was at a work meeting this week and I'm the only one going home after this team dinner to work. And it's how to, I'm still trying to figure out that balance between my day job and my passions. And I don't know where it's got to give, but like, someone said, well, why are you going home to work? And like, because stuff needs to get done. I'm not going to have time to get to it tomorrow. And I have all this work to do. And they're like, well, what happens if you don't get it done?
So are you doing work for your day job or are you doing work for your fun job?
I have done nothing for my personal coaching life, my dream. It is so, I touch on it when I talk to Suzanne, and that's it. When I join in on these, that's the only attention I'm giving to it. My day job is maxed out and we're shorthanded. Like, and the work needs to get done. It's at what point is letting other people down gonna be okay? I said to them, I said, I kind of have this unwritten, like, letdown list. Like, how many people am I okay to let down today? And they're like, what are you talking about? You never let us down. I'm like, because you're not on my letdown list. You're not on the list of people I'm willing to let down. And Guess who's at the top of the letdown list? The number one person that gets let down every single day.
You,
Mhm. So let me ask you this. If that work does not get done that you do after your work hours, who's going to yell at you? Who's going to be mad at you?
The person that didn't get what they need. But my director said,
Mhm.
and I think that's where, this just happened on Tuesday night, I think. It was like, oh, so I came home that night and did not work. Did I work last night when I got home from dinner? I did, because I needed to edit a video and I didn't want to do it this morning. I have about half an hour's worth of work I have to do today still, but I don't know. It's supposed to be my day off and I'm supposed to be able to invest it in my business. And guess what I want to do?
Mhm.
Take a nap.
Mhm.
I'm tired. So how am I going to get out of my comfort zone? And then, you say you're going to have a monthly platform and like, well, then that means that I have to be putting things into the monthly platform and like, you're right. This comfort zone
Mhm.
is keeping me from brilliance.
I can tell you what happened to my comfort zone when I worked a full-time job and had a side gig too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I eventually got fired. It was the best thing that could have happened because I was comfortable enough with the paycheck and with the uncomfortable enoughness that I wasn't willing to take that final step on my own. And so they did it for me.
Were you making money at your side gig though, while that was
A little
going
bit.
on? Okay.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
There were
right
some
now.
weeks where I wondered where we were going to get supper
Yeah.
money.
Mhm.
Yeah. I need to buy bread and milk and I'm not sure where it's going to come from.
Yeah.
I had some of that early on.
Mm,
Fortunately, we had quite a bit in our savings that we were able to use that to
Good.
live for about 6 months till I built up the business to where I could. And monthly recurring was what saved us.
mm.
Yeah.
That resonates with me and reminds me of probably why I'm so focused on making sure this job is the thing that stays, because it is a consistent paycheck and it's like you do a good job and you get, yay, good job.
Mhm.
I lived 28 years not ever knowing if I was going to have enough food to put on the table, raising children without support. So I think that fear of ever going through that again, even if it's by myself, is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, that fear, that uncomfortable feeling, are you willing to go to that uncomfortable feeling again in
Mm,
order to achieve something different? It's not for
yeah.
raising children. It's not for doing that. It's for doing something for you. And I can honestly say I was working full time and started my health coaching practice. And what forced me was getting a phone call on a Friday that we were going to have a baby through adoption that weekend. I didn't know if it was coming for 3 months, 6 months, a year. I didn't know. You just kind of go on a list and it happens when it happens. And I got the phone call at my boss's house for a barbecue.
Mm,
And I was like, oh my God, this is my chance. This is like not only my chance to be a mom, my chance to give my notice. And I'm never coming back. And the 6 months that I had for maternity leave financially put away, oh my God, that's my chance to build my business in 6 months.
mm,
So I had, a time limit. It was uncomfortable
yeah.
because I left a $90,000 a year salary. So it was scary. But that excitement about having that chance kind of fueled that potential.
And you already had some clients and some processes in
A
place.
couple that were paying.
I was making I was making $1,200 a month in
Mhm,
my coaching business, in my
Mhm.
accounting firm, when I got fired.
mhm. Yeah, that's about
So
where
I
I'm
went from $70,000 a year to $1,200 a month.
yeah.
Well, I'm already in the wrong place because I'm not making anywhere near either of those. So not sure what I'm still doing.
So yeah. And so I was at a coaching conference in August, July. I'm
Mhm,
not sure. This summer. And they were talking, and they're a coaching company, and they teach business owners how to set up to like get new clients.
okay.
And not like Suzanne does, but anyway, that's what they do. And when I first started working with them, and this was one of the things that I tried in my coaching to get my program to work. And they were talking, they made me really question my numbers, because I was thinking, okay, if I can add 3 clients a month, that will add an extra $10,000 a month to my current income. That's great. So
Mhm,
that'll put us, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 600,000 for the year. And they were talking $200,000 months. And I'm like, oh. So
mm,
it took me from the uncomfortableness of 3 clients, to add 3 clients a month, to what if I added 60 clients a month?
mhm.
And so it changed that whole thought process of,
Of what's
I was
possible.
comfortable with a $600,000 year,
Mhm,
and they're talking a $200,000 month.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever made $200,000 personally. Not as a business. As a business, I made $200,000, but
mhm,
personally, I don't know that I ever made $200,000 in 1 year, much less in a month.
mhm.
So it's
So
you have to
it
start somewhere, but that it
did
was
did it expand your view of what's possible?
absolutely, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
I was able to break it. I'm an accountant, so I was able to break it down
mhm,
to, oh, that's only 3 clients a day, as opposed to, that's not even possible. I mean, I was able to go, well, 3 clients a day is not terrible. I can do that. I have done that before in the accounting firm. We brought in 3 clients in one day before. Not every day, but we have done it.
yeah.
But at first it was that uncomfortableness of,
Mhm.
oh, I don't, that's not even in my sphere of comprehension,
Yeah.
to, oh, well, how is that possible?
Mhm.
But there was a time in my life where I would have just said, that's not for me. I can't do that.
Yeah. Oh, for
And I
sure.
may not want that. I mean, because I know what the headaches are that come with what I have now. I don't know that I want $600,000 months or months to have the headaches that come with that. I don't know that I want that,
Mhm.
but it made me evaluate what my goals were, to say, maybe I'm thinking a little small, and I'm a little too comfortable with what I have already put on the table that I want to do,
Yeah.
that I need to think a little bigger, which
Yeah, I
was
think that's really the key
sure.
is to thinking, at the time when I started my coaching practice, I was charging 45 or 65 an hour. And you just got that hour and you either paid for an hour or you bought 10 hours of my time. Um, and I remember going to a workshop with somebody in positive psychology before I started studying that. And they said, well, how are you ever going to make more than, $65 an hour times 50 hours a week? And I said, I don't want to work 50 hours a week. I want to work 25 or 30. And I pulled out my calculator and my phone and I was like, 65 times 30 And I was like, well, that's less than I was making as a dental hygienist, for God's sakes. What am I doing? And so it got me to the point where, okay, now I'm uncomfortable because I'm never going to make what I want with that business model. But it was the only way I knew. It was the only business model I knew, charged by the hour. And that's when I kind of started looking into other business models. Well, let's get uncomfortable here. Let's look at a group. Let's look at a membership model. Let's look at selling a 3-month, 6-month, 1-year transformation that costs a bigger amount of money. Like, let's leverage time. But I didn't know any of those terms. I didn't know what was possible until I knew what I didn't want. So what you're both saying, and what I hear Toni say all the time, is she's uncomfortable. She knows what she doesn't want, and it's what she's experiencing right now. But she hasn't yet let herself really explore what she does want to create.
Yeah, knowing what that even is. And it's funny, I was talking to someone last night about relationships and how, in our relationships, we expect, like, especially if you're someone that kind of picks up on what people might need, other people don't have that ability. And so you need to tell them what you need. And so I think I've always lived my life expecting people to just pick up on what I need and knowing it. And then I'm mad when they don't meet my needs. But then when I was asked, well, what is it you do need? I don't know. So if I don't know, how's anyone else supposed to know?
I
Yeah.
have a guy that's a client that I work with, and like, he's a coach, and so he does coaching sessions with me and I do his bookkeeping. And it's the only client I've ever done services swap with. And he almost every time we get on the phone, he's like, what do you want? What does Casey want? And my answer a lot of times is, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. And to me, that's uncomfortable. It's
Yeah.
uncomfortable for you to ask me what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a cycle of always being everything for everyone. You don't have that time. You don't, it's almost such a foreign concept. And sometimes I'm like, do I even want to do that? Like, yeah, it's sitting there and then, someone else said something about, the lies we hear, a lot of how we feel about ourselves is based on the lies we were told our whole lives. And I'm like, well, I still believe those lies. Well, what do you need to see to believe that's, what, and the question want was in capital letters. What do you want to have, and what, and how can you find the truth that leads to that? And it's like,
Yeah.
again, don't know.
Well, listen, 6 months ago, I asked myself a couple questions, and it was, do I want to continue working 50 hours a week, or do I want to change my business model yet again? And the answer was yes. I want that 20-hour, 3-day a week thing that I always talk about, that I start to do, and then it feels a little uncomfortable, and I concede back to 40, 50 hours a week. And 6 months ago, I approached one of my friends who's an incredible coach, and I told him what I wanted. I said, this is what I want. He said, you've been saying that for years, but you don't do it. Are you waiting for someone else to do it for you? And I was like, oh, ooh, dirty word. Like, it just felt, oh, shit, it is my responsibility. So by recreating, backing into what I actually do want, 3 days a week, I want to make between 30 and 60,000 a month. What does that look like? Okay, back into it. It's 1,000 people for this. It's 100 people for this, and 5 people for this. That's it. That gets me to my numbers. So by being in that, I'm now taking the steps that felt uncomfortable before, but it was like forcing me into seeing that what I was doing was not getting me to what I really wanted. And it was a really big aha moment for me. It seemed pretty simple, like logically, but it wasn't until I really committed to what do I want and how am I going to create it. So I think that's one of the things that, you know, bringing the conversation back to Phil Stutz and the tools, I needed to do that work on myself. You know, what's the number I want to reach? How many hours do I want to work? What am I going to charge people? Okay, so how many people do I need for my $97 thing, for my $497 thing, for my one-on-one coaching? Okay, so I got those numbers. How many people do I need in my community, my free community, to trickle down to that amount of people working with me? Okay, how many speaking events do I have to do a month? How many podcasts do I have to do a month? What do the numbers look like based on my past performance? It was pretty easy because, like Casey said, it's about your numbers. It always comes back to the freaking numbers. You want to sell books? How many people see your book? How many people see it translates to 20% of those people that see it buy it, or 10 or 5. It all comes back to numbers, and you can repeat numbers. They don't lie. How's that sit, Tony?
Sitting.
Okay. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, the numbers thing is another thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And until you do it a few times, you don't really know what the numbers are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I'm in that spot. I don't know how many people it's going to take to get to how many clients I'm going to get, because I've never done that like that.
Mm-hmm.
My conversion rate on client strategy sessions right now for the accounting firm is 100%. But I know that's not how it's going to be selling something new.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what that number is.
Right.
So until I do it a few times, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I guess you kind of start with industry numbers.
Yeah.
Conservative industry numbers. Do it a few
Yeah.
times. And then adjust from there. It's
Yeah.
kind of how I'm thinking I'm going to do it.
I would agree. And, you know, until you have your first event and you see how many people come to it, and then how many people did I invite? How many people came? How many of those people who came want to talk to me further without saying, schedule a time to buy my stuff? You know, it's more of a momentum builder. I've been running my monthly call for a year this month. And in that year, I've added 79 coaches to my email list. I have signed 6 of them as clients. And I've connected with 1,200 on LinkedIn. So those numbers to me are starting to make sense. Connected with 1,200, 79 welcomed into my world. And out of 79, 4 have become clients. So if I connect with another 1,200 coaches, is that going to be about the same?
Right.
Probably.
That seems like a lot of work for 4 sales, doesn't
Hmm.
it?
It's an hour-long call once a month. I don't feel like it is. I didn't ask for any sales for 6 months. I was building the community of coaches who are now all talking to each other and inviting strangers, and it's gotten that momentum. And those 4 clients are $2,500 a month clients. They're not $497 a month clients. They're one-on-one clients for me. So yeah, it wasn't a lot of work to show up once a month on a call, to have it scheduled on repeat on Zoom. I put it on LinkedIn in 5 minutes and invite all my coaches to it. That's one click of a button. So no, I feel like it was a good ROI for me.
Okay.
But it has to feel good for you, right? I have a very organic selling process. People come to a free coaching session with me, and I typically don't even make an offer on that call. I get them to do homework first. Do they actually do it? Then maybe a second call, go over the homework. Would you like to explore having, this every week or every month in your business? So it's a longer process than most people do, but it's because I've been doing it for 15 years. I don't need to do it faster than that. If you need to do it faster than that, process is a little different.
It builds
I
trust
want a
too.
hybrid.
What's that? What's that, Casey? I didn't hear you.
I think I want a hybrid.
Ida, is that your new kitty?
No, this is my almost 10-year-old kitty.
Oh,
The new kitty is bothering her.
oh, okay.
So she's coming to hide out.
So Ida's just starting her coaching practice kind of officially in January. So this is probably all making her a little uncomfortable right now, is it?
Yes and no. No, because even though my coaching practice is going to be individual to me, my husband and I have the behavioral health practice, so it's also going to be an arm of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that part of it's already successful.
Yeah.
I just have to make this part successful.
Yeah. So
He did his job.
you feel like you're joining an established company.
Yes. And one I helped build.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
I have a lot invested in it already, because of building it for the last, God, I think we started in 2010 or 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So building that out and taking the knowledge that I have from working in health plans to know what I needed to do to get him where he had to be. So next it's getting me where I need to be.
Yeah. Which I think is going to take him to the next level as well.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I think he's looking at it that way as well.
Yeah. We don't have to tell
His thing
too
is,
much of
as
that.
long as I don't have to go out and network, I don't have to talk to people, I'm good. You do all that stuff.
That's good.
That's your personality, not mine.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, where else would you like to go with the idea of getting used to the uncomfortable feeling? Embracing, that nervous, kind of like stepping on stage. If public speaking scares you, do you still do it when you're called to the occasion?
Yes, because it doesn't scare me.
Yeah, it doesn't scare me anymore, but it did.
I still get nervous though when I get ready to get on stage. I still get like sweaty hands, and I still get, I hope I don't forget my words. I hope I don't forget what I'm supposed to talk about. I hope I don't forget. I hope the slides work like they're supposed to. All those things of, that still makes me nervous. Even if I practice it 100 times, I still get a little nervous that I just want everything to go like it's supposed to, and the people are supposed to get the message they're supposed to get, and so that part always still makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but I don't know that I would not want it to be a little uncomfortable.
Right.
Because
Mm.
then
So that is a perfect example of the uncomfortable allowing you to rise to the occasion and come right past that uncomfortable and do an awesome job, right? If it felt easy, maybe you wouldn't take it as seriously either. You
That's
know, maybe you wouldn't put the effort into practicing or remembering or doing the slides. I don't know.
Yeah. I was in a panel 6 months ago or so, and we had to do her format. We had 8 minutes. There were certain things like you had to do, I think it was 3 bullet points. There were no slides. And I do screen share with clients all the time. Talk for an hour about 45 minutes about their financials, about their where they are, where they want to go, what they need to change, where they are in their business, all kinds of things. But to do that in 8 minutes scared the bejeebies out of me, because I'm like, what if I talk too long? What if I, what if the volume doesn't work? What if? And it was fine. It worked great, but I was very nervous because it was a change in what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Now I can jump on a call with a client and I don't look at their books ahead of time. I open it up and we look at it together and I'm like, oh, here's what you need to do. And this is where you need to go. And this is what you need to change. But I'm comfortable with that to a point where it's not like an elevated stage presentation anymore. It's not anything special to me. I read financial reports every day. And sometimes, like yesterday, I think I did 8 of them with clients, and that's normal stuff. And so that doesn't make me uncomfortable. There was a time when that did make me uncomfortable. I would look at it ahead of time. I had bullet point notes on my desk of things I wanted to make sure that I covered with the client. And now I just rip it off. And so now that's not uncomfortable. And so now maybe that's part of why I feel like it's time to make a change in my business, not only on the financial side, but I don't feel like I'm growing. I feel kind of stagnant. And so I need to change something in the business so that I can change me.
Growth intentions.
Yeah. Write that down. Write that down every freaking day, because that is what is going to drive you forward. And I'm so happy that you're here, because I saw that about you. Well, I think that's why I liked you when we first met. Like, here's somebody who's pushing out of her comfort zone. That's like me. I want to hang out with people who are doing that, who are challenging that, who are believing that they can do something different in this world, whether it's your coaching model, the way you offer things. It's inspiring to me to have people like that around me. And I think it's important for us all to remember that that's actually why we like being an entrepreneur, is because it's forcing us to grow. It's forcing us to expand what's possible.
I had coffee this morning with my dad, and when I told my dad I was going to leave the accounting firm and I was going to start my own accounting firm, and I was going to help people read their financials and understand them and set goals on that. And he said, people are going to pay you for that? That's what he said. It wasn't that he didn't believe that I could do that.
Right.
But I took it that way. I'm like,
of course,
my dad doesn't even believe in me.
Yep.
And my husband was, every time he would come home from work. At that time I worked at home, and he would come home and I would say, I tried this and it didn't work. And I tried this and it didn't work. And I spent this much money and it didn't give me what I wanted. And every time he would say, you're going to have to go get a job. You're going to have to go get a job. And I was determined that I was not going to get a job. And I was gonna make this work. And now he comes in and says, can I have some money? Is what my husband does. But, well, my first goal was I wanted 25 monthly bookkeeping clients. If I could get 25 monthly bookkeeping clients, we would be set.
Mhm.
And so when I got there, I'm like, okay, now I need a new goal because I made that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, now we need 50 new bookkeeping clients. Okay. Now we need 75 new bookkeeping clients. And I'm like, we could get 150 bookkeeping clients now and it will be the same.
Yeah.
So I need something different.
I like
This is the
the
new one.
direction. What's that, Ida?
This is the new one.
Oh, cute. Cute.
Come on.
All right. Any other insights from what we talked about today?
I think what scares me the most is, I mean, now with my job, you know, I make really good money. I have umpteen amount of sick days. I have personal days. I have floating personal day. I have vacation time. But when I finally decide to leave that, I have to give all that up, including my benefits. Although at this point in my life, by the time I'm ready to do that, I'll be ready for Medicare. So that, you know, then it's decisions I have to make around that. But it's still scary to give up the vacation, the personal, the sick, the extended sick,
Yeah.
and, you know, all of that, because I know I get paid for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, like my husband, when we go on vacation, he doesn't get paid for vacation anymore. He doesn't get sick days. You know, I mean, he's been sick for the last 2 weeks, and every day he gets up and he's cut his schedule back, but he's still working. You know,
Yeah.
where me, I could just call into work and say, hey, I'm not coming in today. Get a full day's pay.
Yeah.
So that's scary for me.
You could set your business up that you still get paid whether you're there or not. Because I get paid whether I come to work or not.
Mhm.
Because my clients pay on a monthly retainer.
Yeah, now see, for him, it doesn't work that way because he gets paid by insurance companies.
Oh.
So if he
well,
doesn't work, he doesn't get paid, you know, and for behavioral health therapists to have a self-pay client in this day and age is quite rare.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's something good from an accounting perspective to remember as we're deciding on your offerings and your model, that maybe you have that recurring revenue
Right.
model for, and maybe it's a monthly call for the doctors that are referring to you for your
Right.
consultation, right? And you meet with the doctors to begin educating them every month,
Right.
and they're going to refer clients to you. So it's definitely something to think about.
Mhm.
One of my dentist clients, he was participating in a mastermind for his business, and he's a sleep dentist. So he does appliances and surgery, like airway obstruction and all that kind of stuff. So he was paying $3,000 a month, $30,000 a year to be in this mastermind group once a month with this famous airway surgeon, dentist,
Mhm.
surgeon. And he was telling me about the group. They meet once a month for 4 hours on a Saturday on Zoom. It's, you know, it's amazing. He's learned
Right.
so much. And I said, well, what you know, he's got this practice, and then he owns 6 other practices, general dentistry practices. So he buys those practices, he hires a dentist when an old dentist retires. He's got this whole model, and then they're all under his brand.
Right.
I said, imagine if you had your own mastermind group where you have solo practicing dentists who want to learn how to do what you're doing. He's
Mhm.
like, do you think they would pay for that? I was like, yeah. So now he has this recurring revenue. Not that he needed more revenue, honestly, he didn't. But he shows up 4
Mhm.
hours once a month, and he has 11 dentists in his mastermind, and they're each paying $3,000.
Right.
And I helped him create the content for the mastermind, the
Mhm.
outline, the content. And he didn't believe he could do it. I said, I believe you can do it. And imagine what that revenue will do for you personally, or for your practice, or whatever. Right. So it's just a different, when he
So
takes
something like
vacation,
that could be your vacation fund.
it is. And when he takes a month off, he still shows up for that 4 hours on a Saturday
Mm-hmm. Right.
and has an amazing income that month for doing nothing.
Right.
In my course, when we talk about income, we talk about different streams of income, because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You know, you do want some one-on-ones, you do want some group stuff, you do want some coursework, you do want different ways that people pay you for that very reason, so that you don't have to, you know, leverage time for dollars, or, you know, an hourly rate, or, you know, it's a mixture.
Yeah.
And like you said, you know, you need so many of this kind, and so many of this kind, and so many of this kind. It's that way in about every industry. To somehow you have to
Mm-hmm.
not put all your eggs in one basket, so that you do have some
Yeah.
recurring. So you do have, I mean, there are things that I do get paid because I show up for, and there are things that I have to do some prep work for, but there are also things that I don't have to do at all, and I still get paid for.
Yeah.
True.
So it's all in what you want, how you set it up. And not that you have to do it all at one time. You could start with this and say, okay, I don't have any vacation time while I start, but once I get this up and running, then I'm going to implement this, and I will have vacation time, or I will have paid for time that I don't necessarily have to show up with this kind of income.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially, you know, for you, Casey, having this 12-week course, it's something you could do with people live and charge more, or it could be automated and people could go through it for a cheaper price, but you don't have your hands in it. Like,
Right.
it's like, oh, here, oh, you can't afford to do it with me, then go do it by yourself. You know, doing it with me, 4,000, doing it by yourself, 497, right? Like it
Mhm.
becomes, you get to service more people that way, how they need to be served too, which I love. I love that. So that evergreen, you know, kind of system, that's where you need to attract more people. You know, so doing a monthly free call where I attract, you know, 20, 30 people a month, my evergreen offer for them is only $97, but I don't have to touch it. I don't have to do anything. And it typically leads to more than that. So, all right. Well, I loved this conversation today, guys. Tony, I'm glad it made you feel uncomfortable. Sit in that. Keep me posted on that.
Work on your savings account so that you can leave your
Mhm.
job.
Yep.
Let's work on paying the bills we got first.
Oh, well, yeah, that's kind of important too.
Mhm. Listen,
She's got me.
I'm gonna stop recording and
You can trim